Like everyone's here. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Next on our agenda is docket number 24-1601. Want to note for the record that Council Member Marjorie Bedesum has now joined the meeting remotely. So now officially to go on record for docket 24-1601. My name is Shane True. I'm the chairman for the Environmental Quality Council. With me today are council members J.D. Radakovich, Marjorie Bedesum, Steve Lenz, Stan Blake, William Stafford, and Ryan Green. Also present are council staff Kelly Duran and Joe Girardin, and EQC legal counsel Ryan Shellhouse. I'll also note that the counsel for the petitioners, John Masterson, and counsel for service Mitch Edwards, are both attending remotely. The parties appeared before the council for a final hearing on August 15th, 2024 here in Cheyenne. The council heard evidence from the parties and moved to table deliberations pending further review of the record. The council has now had an opportunity to review the record. So we'll open up for each member for discussion, and I'll just go individually, and I'll start with council member Stan Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So reading that transcript of 170 pages took a while. I was just looking over it again. The thing that kind of sticks in my craw is there was never a surface use agreement that Mr. Fanerkas said he received. And there's some issues there that I'm not sure if everything was done to the best to help out Mr. Fanerkas. And so that's all I really have right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Council member Lenz.
Thank you, Chairman True. So when we were meeting on this back in August, and we deliberated through the process and agreed that state statute 406B Romanet 11 didn't apply, and we went to Romanet 12. That opened the 4 points that had to be proven by Black Hills Bentonite that they had complied with those requirements. And as Stan pointed out, we have some interesting testimony that the mining plan and reclamation plan weren't received, even though it appears that every attempt was made to put it in their hands. The part of the 4 that doesn't really set quite right with me is that in the mining plan and the reclamation plan, which is detailed, it did lack the proposed routes of egress and ingress in the form of a map that was never submitted, so we have no evidence to that can be reviewed. But in that plan, in the absence of a map, I would think there would need to be section numbers or some type of GPSing document that recorded where this was going to take place. I do feel that the other 2 requirements that says it won't substantially prohibit the operations of the surface owner, I think that has been met. I also believe that the plan to reclaim the surface once it's complete as quickly as possible has been met. But for me, the biggest piece that feels like it is incomplete is the ingress egress, so that the landowner does know where roads will be created or used across their property. And that's what I would add to this discussion at this point. Thank you, Chairman True.
Thank you, Council member Lenz. Council member Stafford, do you have any comments? Bill, I think you're muted. Councilmember Stafford, do you hear me?
Now I've got you.
All right.
Everything
Okay.
was, I'm sorry, everything just went blank for a while. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
no problem. No problem. Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment, Chairman True. I just agree somewhat with what the other council members said, although I do have concerns that you're asking a company that's doing this on a regular basis, Black Hills. I don't see any particular reason for them to omit any of the things that said that were omitted. It's just kind of hard for me to believe when they do this on a regular basis that this was omitted intentionally to try to defraud the folks. So anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stafford. Councilmember Bedesson.
Thank you, Chairman True. So, as the other council members have stated, we're down to those 4 items that Black Hills Bentonite essentially needs to prove in order to get the order in lieu of consent. And reviewing the transcript, I understand the impossibility of getting an exact timetable on reclamation, but Black Hills generally reclaims in a timely manner and has not indicated that this would be handled any differently than other operations that they run. And it does not appear that there's any substantial prohibitions of the operations of the surface owner as far as cattle grazing is concerned. And I also understand the general level of detail that's included in these applications, these mining applications. So really it kind of comes down to some kind of discrepancies between what the 2 parties claim with regard to the information that's provided, and we don't have sort of a definitive answer one way or the other, where we have one party that says this information was provided and the other that says they didn't have a full picture. Which is difficult because that's something it seems like 2 parties should be able to work out, and or preponderance of evidence. Again, just
you froze up and we lost like the last 30 seconds of what you said. I don't know if you want to repeat what you said.
it.
Councilmember Bedesson. We lost like the last
Okay,
90
I think
seconds.
I'm back in.
Okay.
Oh man.
Oh.
Ask her to call. She's got cell.
Yeah, Councilmember, do you have a good cell
Not really sure exactly where it left off.
Do you,
Let's
do you,
try
do you
again.
have good cell service?
I do, I think. Okay, then do I have to mute?
You'll mute your computer. I'll turn you up and put you on my mic here.
Okay, how do I get rid of the echoing?
I don't know.
You have to mute your.
You have to
computer.
mute. Well, you have to mute your computer.
Gotcha. Okay, hold on.
Otherwise it's coming out.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, I think I got it. Not only do I have to see myself on the screen, I have to mute the computer. So I think I got that, so I have no more echo.
Okay. Do you want to just have her just
Okay,
start
can
over
you hear
again?
me?
Yes, we can hear you. Do you want to just start from the beginning? Oh, I'm muted.
Hold on, I'm still working on it. Since I muted the computer, I can't hear you through the computer.
Okay, Marge, I unmuted
Okay.
my phone. If you want to just start from the beginning, we'll get all of your comments.
Oh, man. That's gonna be okay. So, essentially what I was going through again was the fact that if it's 406B Romanet 12 applies in the four components, kind of going through them, that one of them is whether the proposed plan essentially includes timely reclamation, and I agreed with the argument that an exact date timeline is difficult, and that as long as there's a commitment to timely reclamation and Black Hills Bentonite, it generally has worked with owners so that does happen, and I don't see reason to believe that this case would be any different. And I don't believe that there's a substantial difficulty with maintaining the surface operations of grazing, except for in the exact mine area, and that the remaining two, or whether the surface owner received the mining and reclamation plans, and whether those were detailed enough to show ingress and egress. And so we have some discrepancies there between the statements of the each side of this disagreement. And so the council seems that it's in the position of having to decide what the preponderance of evidence leads one to conclude. In other words, what's more probable than not, because we have opposing statements of fact or viewpoint with respect to who received what and whether the full documents were received. And so to me, it's down to that one point, because I do think, based on the permit writer's testimony, that the permit is very typical of an approvable permit that Black Hills Bentonites normally submits to DQ. So that's as much as I'd like to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bedeslam. Councilmember Radakovich.
Look, I think this is pretty simple. I think Mr. Fernakis is grumpy because somebody prior to his ownership sold away these rights, and Black Hills Bentonite is trying to exercise those rights. And we can't rule on that, and that's fine. I think it would have been very cut and dried if Black Hills Bentonite would have crossed their T's and dotted their I's and checked all the boxes that they needed to. Because the legal burden is on them to present that they've made every opportunity to make sure this happened and then had all their ducks in a row. I don't know that they've done that in this case. I think if they would have, this would be very simple. And we could have gone with their consent in lieu. But it doesn't seem like they've done that, and it's too bad, but they're going to have to go back to the drawing board, in my opinion, and do everything that they're supposed to do, so they can get a DEQ permit and exercise their rights as you know, from what their title says they have, but they still have to get the DEQ permit. So go get your stuff done, and we'll probably see you again.
Thank you, Councilmember Radakovich. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Chairman True. And yeah, I agree with Mr. Radakovich. When I look at 3511 406B Romanet 12 and read through those 4 elements in the transcript, I think that Black Hills Bentonite did a reasonable job to satisfy all 4 of those elements, but I don't think it was complete. And, you know, I think when we're looking at those, our job's to call balls and strikes and to make sure that those things are complete. And when I look at this and the evidence that was presented, it's at least to me, it was clear that there was reasonable attempt to get it completed and attempts to I would say, get all of the T's crossed and the I's dotted, but it just wasn't completed. And I don't believe that all 4 of those elements were satisfied to the level that they should have been. And so that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. And then I guess I'm the last one remaining. And you know, I find myself very much similar to Councilmember Radakovich and Councilmember Green. You know, I think Black Hills Bentonite has every right to be mining this land. I think they went to great length to satisfy Mr. Fernakis. And you know, A, C, and D under Romanet 12, I think that they have satisfied. The mining plan is just, I mean, it's just, you know, in football, it's a game of inches, and I think they came up an inch or 2 short on the mining plan. And, you know, I think if they just go back, refine the mining plan, get things resubmitted, I think they can come back to us and we can get their order in lieu of consent. But, you know, at this time, I can't quite get there. So those are my comments. So we'll move on. The council's heard evidence from the party, has had an opportunity for discussion. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny Black Hills in lieu of consent.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Radakovich, and the second by Mr. Blake. Is there any further debate? Anyone want to speak on the council? Seeing none, I will do a roll call vote on the motion to deny the petition.
Oh, wait a minute, Shane. Sorry to interrupt, but Marge is waving her hand.
Oh,
And-
I missed Marsh. Sorry.
Sorry.
Councilmember Dessen.
And I'm hoping that I come through. I just wanted to say when was discussing or mentioned that when we have 2 opposing viewpoints on facts about something like the what was made available in the permit, what was in the content, that rather than putting the council in the position of having to decide where the, you know, that preponderance of evidence is, if it's, for example, the party bringing the case up that can clarify and make the situation so there is no issue that you have to decide on the preponderance of evidence, that it's a simple matter to do that before the case comes forward, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm making myself clear in that, rather than coming to us with in a hearing where we have opposing comments on facts, that those things could have been established before it came to the hearing, and then it would be easier to grant. So in other words, if you know that you've got the permit detailed, if you know that the surface owner has received the documents and both parties agree, yes, we've received this, we've gotten everything, then those kinds of decisions are very much more straightforward for the council. And it's those kinds of things that can be taken care of before the case even comes up. Just my thought on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Marge. Or Councilmember Bedessem. Are there any other comments or debate that needs to be had? Okay, seeing
Chairman True.
Councilmember Lenz.
Yes, this one might be for Ryan Shellhouse. In this vote, if we deny Black Hills Bentonite's petition, will this cause this entire case to be presented potentially again in its entirety?
Councilmember Lenz, I guess what I can answer is it will complete this case. Whether and what transpires after that, I guess, would be up to Black Hills Bentonite if the motion to deny the order in lieu of consent is approved. But that would be a final decision once approved by this council, and it would finish this current case.
Okay. I just was trying to determine if this came back one more time for a complete petition for an order in lieu of consent, if we would go through the same steps that this case took with testimony, evidence, or if Black Hills Bentonite were to correct the several items that we did not see, is there an avenue for this to not follow the same course it did as going through a contested case?
Councilmember Lenz, I guess, the safest answer for me to give is that would be dependent on what the parties would do if this came back to the council.
Okay, good enough. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Lenz. Any other comments? Marge, Councilmember Bedessem. He froze up again.
I just wanted to ask as a follow-up to Councilman Lenz' comment was, so does this mean the same, or is Black Hills Bentonite allowed to essentially come back if they are denied for the same request for an order in lieu of consent, assuming, everything is all detailed, but they still can't get to an agreement? Or is there a prohibition on basically doing the same case? That's the question I have.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Bedessem. I'm now kind of leaning into giving legal advice, and I typically like to give that in executive session. So I guess that is a question I could either give in executive session or in a memo to the council. So I'm not giving my legal thoughts in front of the parties to the council. To the council. So I guess I'm sorry, but I want to refrain from answering that legal question. Yeah, if people want to go in executive session, fine, but or I could talk offline with you, Councilmember Bedesem, but yeah, I guess
It
I'll leave it
depends.
at that. I guess I'll leave it at that. This case would be finished and it'd be up to the parties. It'd be up to Black Hills Bentonite on how they proceed after that. They have probably many avenues if this motion is approved and granted as stated.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other actions anyone wants to do before I call a roll call vote or any further debate? Okay, hearing none. I will now call a roll call vote on the motion to deny the petition for an order in lieu of consent. And I'll start with Council Member Blake,
Aye.
Council Member Lenz,
Aye.
Council Member Stafford,
You're muted.
No.
Council Member Bedesem,
Aye.
Council Member Radakovich,
Aye.
Council Member Green,
Aye.
and I, Chairman, I will vote aye as well. So the ayes have it. The motion carries. Black Hills Bentonite's petition for an order in lieu of consent is denied. So thank you, everyone, for your work on this matter, and this contested case is now closed. Is there any administrative business or? Okay, so thank you everyone for your attention on these matters. That concludes all items on the agenda today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Blake and Councilmember Green. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.